Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio, where truth equals reality, and truth is often stranger than fiction.
Hello everyone, welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, and joining me tonight is going to be Katrina Rose, and she's the author of a book called Connect Ghosts. I might be adding an S on that end of that connects that don't belong here by accident. No, it's connects. And at any rate, I believe she told me it was based on a true story. This is an experience she had in a house that she had moved into. And if I get anything wrong, I'll let her correct me on that. I've read a part of this book myself, but I hadn't had a lot of time at the beginning of the month being what it is. But from what I can tell, it's a very absorbed, very interesting book. It's got a lot of things going on in it. It's got some unique angles on this possession and ghost haunting that I think is very new to me, and I think it's probably going to be new to you listeners as well. And I think I'll be glad to hear what she has to say. So, Katrina, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. And before I forget also, with me tonight is also my co-host, Gerald Riggins. And how are you doing tonight, Gerald?
I'm doing real good, Royce.
And my other co-host, John, was not able to make it tonight. He's had some death in the family and a lot of in the sickness in the family as well, or in the friends. And he's got a lot on his plate right now, so he's not going to be with us tonight, but he should be back in the very near future. For those that want to call in and ask questions, it's 832-632-7904. And if you want to join us here live, it's www.paranormalpalaceradio.com/test-radio. And it's either a hyphen or a space. It's the one that's midway up, not underscored. Or you just go to paranormalpalace.com, and on the tabs at the top, click on Live Radio, and that'll bring you right to us. If you've got Windows Media Player, the top player would be the one for you. If you got Mac, then the one underneath it would probably be the one that would work best for you. Katrina, back onto the story part now. Oh, wait. Also, you don't have your own webpage, do you?
I do. www.KatrinaRose21.com.
Katrina Rose what now?
21.
Oh, KatrinaRose21.com. Okay. I put your Facebook page down underneath your picture on this page because I was not aware of your website, and I can always change that when I post it to the archives tomorrow or the next day. In the meantime, why don't you tell us, because I usually like to get my guests to kind of break the ice by letting everybody know a little something about themselves and, of course, what led them to what they wrote about.
Well, I guess a little bit about me. First, I've been intuitive since I was a little girl, but I don't think I realized that I was intuitive until I became, more of an adult. I even put it for a while, but when I moved into this house in the country, things just kind of came alive, and I just sat on the information for about 10 years before I decided to write on it. At that time, I had compiled, newspaper clippings, and I had journaled the dreams. But, the very first thing that got me started really was an initial dream, and that's how the book opens up, and it just kind of folds from, the sequence how events went, and it started with a dream. Excuse me.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I was just at your website, and one of the things that I'm noticing here, and I'm going to be pasting this link into the chat room, by the way, is that you have a free book drawing going on?
I do have a free book drawing. I give 3 books away on the 21st of each month, and people go in, and they just sign up for it. It's a paperback.
So you can sign up all month long, but the drawing is actually on a certain day of the month?
The 21st. That's actually my signature
yeah,
number.
You mentioned that in your book, in fact, that the number 21 had some certain amount of importance to you. So I was going to ask you, exactly what this importance is.
To give it completely away, but basically it's a connection with the spirits that I've come across through life, or that have come to me, including one, that's found in the house that I purchased. The story built on. So that's kind of rather unique. I don't want to give away the very true. One day I was writing down some information about some of the spirits that helped over the course of time. Because some of them I could identify by name. Some of them, I still don't know their names. But and ones I was able to identify with, they had a pattern. And the pattern was 21, that's the pattern with me as well. So I thought that was pretty, kind of gave me goosebumps when I wrote it out like that. Yeah, it was just crazy.
Right. Now, I was noticing that it sounded like a couple of times your voice had drugged there, and I could have sworn I heard a dong like noise in the background. And I was going to ask Gerald, did you hear that also, Gerald?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so there may or may not be some technical difficulty going on. I've noticed before sometimes when it rains like it has been here, funny things can happen to communication lines, especially ones through Skype, which is what I use for my show, because Skype's the only one that let me broadcast through the internet, and my regular phone won't tap the internet like that.
Okay.
So if it gets too bad, we can always reschedule. But I say let's go ahead and go for it, because that could have just been something temporary.
Yeah, everybody on my side sounds good.
Okay. Well, let's try for it and see what happens. So this is actually a story from what I've been able to gather so far about a dream you had that involves a murder with a woman that you saw in a vision, and it goes on from there. And I'm not sure, pardon me, how much you want me to reveal, so I thought I'd let you come in and fill some of the gaps on this one here. Kind of give us a description of the book as much as you can give away without giving away the candy store.
Well, like I said, it did start with a dream. And it was a dream about the past, really. I mean, it was 19 years, but I didn't know that at the time, how much. I had to find the people that were, I started having a series of dreams, and I had to, they left me clues, and some of those clues I was able to kind of go back and piece back together what could have happened to them based on several dreams, and also talking with the rural community, the neighbors. There's a sheriff involved. There's a drug dealer. There is a judge involved, and just able to go back and talk to some of the different players that be, and piece together some information. And some of it I was able to actually find on microfilm, which was pretty interesting, and then piece that together. And throughout the course of piecing it together, there were some similarities between the ghost and myself. So, we got a little bit maybe too close, but it was. I don't know if that helps a little bit there. Do you have any other questions or?
Well, I was going to ask you, because what I have read thus far, if there's by any chance any reincarnation involved in this story.
I don't think so. I don't remember touched on reincarnation or not.
Well, okay, the reason I asked that question, I guess since you said what you did, I can go ahead and reveal it to you. Is from what I read in the beginning, I was starting to get a sense that you were perhaps this other girl that you dreamed about reincarnated. But I didn't want to come out and say that on the air. I thought that might have been too much if I was right.
No, but I like that twist. But no, but I like that thought. I thought about doing a spin-off with a reincarnation situation, but it really doesn't have anything to do with, the house or the spirits in this particular book, but I guess it has to do with the main character. So,
well,
I'm up to writing this other book, but, I don't know if I can actually tie it in, because some people want me to write a sequel to connect. I think pretty much by the time you're finished, you'll have a good sense of what happened and everything, and much of it can be, traced or, just some odd things that were happening, and it's all going to kind of flow and connect together. So I don't know if the other book would actually work, but a lot of people want me to write a sequel to this, but, I'm not sure that I can, and I think you'll understand at the very end, but I might be able to give more information, but, the haunting is gone, so there wouldn't be any more haunting to, like, the sequel. There could more, spiritual, journey, but not a haunting anymore. So I don't know if a sequel would work.
So you're basically still sort of, in a way, living the story.
I still live in the same house.
Oh, okay. So, has it gotten better now that you've gotten as far as you have into it? Is it better now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the spirits are at peace. I will just say it that. The spirits, and there's more than one, and that's kind of the thread of the story. I couldn't have even made it up. Every time I would uncover one thing, it would lead to another thing, and then it would lead to another thing. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. But yet it was, it was actually unfolding like that. So it wasn't even anything that, in my wildest of dreams, I was just pulling out of a hat. It was just all unfolding between the information, from those in the community to then finding out about another, person, and then to finding out about the spirits. And it was just like, I kind of felt like I was in the Twilight Zone a little bit, but at the same token, it was, it was kind of cool.
Well, I was kind of under the impression that there was at least two spirits that, to me, seemed most likely to be the husbands and the wives.
Well, you'll have to keep reading.
Yeah. I kind of thought that might be treading on a little bit too much right there. But I went through anyway.
You'll have to keep reading. I mean, I think you might be right on one, but I'm not 100% sure you're right on the other. I want to keep you intrigued that, you're asking good questions, because I think you're going to be, I'll tell you what everybody says. They're kind of like, I had the wrong person, or I pegged the wrong, they thought they had it figured out and they didn't, but,
so this is one of those mysteries that, leads you to think one thing when it's really another, which is really the makings of a good suspense.
Well, I think you're going to, there's a lot of twists and turns, and I think it's not what you're thinking, because every time, and that's the way it, without giving you too much, that's the way it unfolded. I will say for another teaser is, the lady who, I saw murdered, and it's written like this in the book descriptions and everything, but, they said that she was found at the railroad tracks dead, but, the dreams told me something else, and I won't tell you, what it actually told me, but she was not on the railroad tracks. And that was really my first clue that something was like wrong, something was amiss. And then when she gave me her name, and then I was able to start piecing things together, and I just turned into this like little psychic detective. I mean, it seemed like every time I asked a question, I'd either dream something similar or, with the answer, or I'd get the answer a few days later or something because I ran into the right person or, that kind of situation. It was just really cool how it was kind of unfolding. And of course it was around the time of death, that it had happened 19 years prior. So
how much of this here story is fiction and how much is nonfiction?
Well, it's not split equally. probably more is true than not true. Of course, the names and places have been changed, and
kind of like the old FBI series, only the names have been changed to protect the innocent type of thing.
Yeah, a little bit. And I still live in the same house, so of course, the person I know knows where I live. So, and 10 years has gone by, and I guess if he wanted to contact me, he would. But anyway, names and places have been changed, and there is still a little bit of thread of fiction, but very little. I can't really tell you. It's supposed to keep you guessing there, but a lot of. I think. When you read it, you're going to feel like you were there, like it's happening to you at that moment. And at least that's the way I wrote it. But yet I also wanted you to feel somewhat of a connection to the spirits, that were wronged. I mean, it's a shame that they met their death, in an untimely way, and they just needed somebody to listen to them. And I think once they were recognized, it was very, very easy to be at peace at that time.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking about it. Have you ever thought about maybe, and I haven't read the whole book yet, but when I have so far, it seems to follow a story and an entire plot. Have you ever thought about seeing if you could go with a DVD with it or into the movies with it or something?
Well, I actually sent it to a producer, and I'm hoping to hear back. Because for the last 10 years that I've been talking to, my friends, or before I wrote the book, they're always like, oh my gosh, it should be a movie. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of think so too. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if the person that I've felt led to send it to feels that way too. I hope so, because, I think it would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it would be very cool. I had a lady on not long ago, the author of House of Darkness, House of Light, Andrea Perron, and her book was very similar to yours in some ways. And hers has went in and it's coming out in the theaters, I think it is, in July. And it was being produced by James Wan, in fact. So that's what I was thinking. Yours reminded me so much of hers so far that I thought maybe perhaps yours might do the same thing.
Well, I didn't know of that particular producer, so maybe I need to write his name down. But, I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah, well, if it was my book, I'd be thinking of it. I mean, look what happened with James Brown.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just, I thought that before I actually even wrote it, but, I guess I had to. I think it would actually be pretty easy to adapt into a screenplay because of the way it kind of gives the description and the storyline, and then there's some dialogue, and then it will go to almost like scene 2. It's almost as if each chapter is just really a different scene of what happened because, that is pretty much the way I wrote it. The scenes are a little bit more consolidated. They didn't necessarily always happen, the very next day, but it definitely was in a time frame. But I consolidated it a little bit more for the book.
Also, I haven't mentioned this yet live on the air, but one of the things that you might want to let the listeners know about, we might want to talk about, I think you said something earlier about being able to see spirits or hear spirits, being intuitive, but you haven't been real descriptive about your psychic abilities. I thought maybe you'd like to take a moment to tell the people about that.
Well, I just really feel probably more of a jack of all trades and a master at none. It seems as though I have a little bit of everything, but I don't give readings, and I don't really go around and, it just comes to me, and I can still be out and about, and I could brush up against somebody and somebody come to me, but most of the time, it comes through dreams or just I seem to get a lot of stuff about death, which is kind of strange. But my sister actually read somewhere, I don't remember if it was my name or if it had to do with more numerical, I really don't remember, but she said that kind of made sense, that for some reason I had a lot of like intuitiveness about death, which is just strange, but it does seem to be true. And so sometimes people will just kind of come to me at random, if they've crossed over to tell me. I hadn't seen one of my friends for, probably 22 years, and I woke up and knew she had passed away. And it took me a while to find out if I was correct, and I was, and things like that. And, just things that help me throughout my day, will pop into my head, turn left instead of, going right because you'll, won't run into a wreck or something like that. But I don't usually, do readings for other people. I don't think I want that kind of responsibility. Some people, some people take it too seriously, and then other times people don't take it serious enough. So I don't think I want to like read anybody like that. But
I can imagine it's got its downsides just like anything else. Unfortunately, that's the kind of duality we live in.
Yeah, I think the liability reasons, and that might be, more my real estate side talking. And I've been licensed before and understand, even though I don't think you have to be a licensed psychic, but I just don't want that kind of liability. But
speaking of real estate, I was reading in your book that you were never informed when you bought this house that it had any kind of haunting or any other paranormal activity going on, were you?
No, I really wasn't, and I was a licensed realtor at the time. But I think I left that part out of the book, didn't really divulge that I was an agent. But no, nothing was stated. And the only thing that needs to be disclosed, I have changed the location, so I'm not going to actually divulge what state I live in. But you only have to disclose if it's a murder or if it's a suicide. So, the deaths that happened here, nobody said anything about them. And, nobody said anything about the haunting either. Now, I don't actually think the realtor knew that the house was haunted, but I do know because I called him later and kind of chewed him out, and he's like, so you think I should have mentioned it? And I said, yeah, I think you really should have mentioned it. But by law, the ethical thing would have been to mention it, but by law, he didn't really have to because how the person died, slipped through the cracks, and it was not a suicide, and it was not, a murder, but yet it was. It's just it was disclosed as something differently, and that's kind of how it got, slipped through the cracks. You'll have to read, and you'll understand why it was said what happened when, it was something else. And that's how, that's how it happened.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that while I was listening to you, because a thought occurred to me that I've heard about realtors knowing about haunted houses before. When you were a realtor, because I don't know if you still are or not, did you usually disclose, or did you even usually know about houses being haunted when you were selling them?
Oh, I was licensed for 10 years, and I didn't know of any house going into it that ahead of time that it was haunted. But there were occasions that once I went into the house and with the client that I felt spirits, and I actually always said something, but because I kind of got into it a little bit, maybe a little too much, and the people never bought those particular houses. But one time was really funny. There was this little girl, her name was Sally, and we had laid the keys. I worked at Remax, and we had laid the keys on top of like this mantle, and I had an agent that worked under me, and she was like showing the property, and she went to go look for the keys, and they weren't there. And I'm like, no, I laid them right there. And, no, there was just 3 of us. We all said we didn't move them. And then finally, I'm like, Sally, I'm like, bring the keys back. And then the lady that was trying to sell the house, and we were going to possibly list it, she said that there was rumor that there might have been a child that was buried underneath the house. and that freaked them out, but didn't really freak me out. Then I understood why she was playing games with us, why our keys were missing, because then they just magically appeared again. It was really it was weird for them. It didn't bother me whatsoever, but anyway, so never the house, knowingly going into it, might have stumbled upon it later on. And I do think I showed another house once when there was these two little girls that were playing inside the house. They had died of some sort of flu, like back in like the 1900s, or it was long ago, and the early 1900s, maybe even late 1800s, some sort of influenza flu type situation. But yeah. But
right.
most houses, I didn't feel anything. Most of them are just kind of, are just actual buildings.
Well, real quick, because I haven't given Gerald a chance, and I always like to, pull him in at some point during the show. I'd like to see if Gerald's got any questions for you real quick, or any comments. Gerald, you got anything you want to throw in here right now?
Yes, I do, Royce. Katrina, one of the questions I have is, you get these dreams and stuff and everything. Have you ever had them like in the daytime, kind of like a daydream where you're at the store, or you're just kind of cruising along and all of a sudden you just kind of get this vision, Has that ever happened to you?
Yes. Yeah, and I started to say some of the psychic abilities, not only dreaming, sometimes like that, things will just pop into my head. I might see it in a phrase, like maybe 3 words, or I may see kind of like a small little vision, like you're saying. Not usually, I shouldn't say when I'm not driving, because I did have one that was that happened when I was driving once, but I could still drive. But most of the time, I'm at my house a lot writing, so most of the time they happen in the house. So, but I don't believe that they're connected to the house as much as they are connected to me at this point, because the house is pretty clear. But, yeah, I do. I seem to get things of the past and of the future and of the present, so I think that's kind of cool. But, and they can be random, I got something. So if I'm woke up out of a dead sleep, I know it's really important. And, one time I had a friend that, somebody that they loved was going to end up going to prison, and I have no idea why I got that information. And I think they were kind of mad at me at first, but, and, he was a good person, and they didn't believe it, and I don't know, I think it was about 4 years later, he ended up going to prison, and then they wanted to, talk about the premonition that I got. They didn't really want to talk about it when I got it, but they wanted to talk about it later. So.
Gerald?
I'm here.
Pardon me.
Well, right now, I can't think of any other question for her right now, but I'm enjoying listening, and thank you for Katrina for answering my question. I appreciate you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Are either one of you intuitive?
Gerald, how about you?
Not really. I've had dreams, kind of like deja vu kind of stuff, but, for me, I'm in a wheelchair and I have cerebral palsy, and I do experience deja vu on occasion, but I don't know if that would really classify as kind of having that ability,
Well, I think it does. I think that's a portion of being intuitive or psychic. There's so much, and some people, I think a lot of people just really hone in on one maybe certain thing, maybe they're just a dreamer, or maybe, someone else hears audible messages, and then other people see them more. And then there's people like myself that kind of get a little bit of all of it. And sometimes I'll tell you, it is a little bit hard to absorb. I mean, when it first started happening, and it's always been happening, but for a while I didn't